earlier in the week when I did the video on the Malaysian Airlines, how they're sending their planes intentionally into war zones, I had promised a future video, and this is it. I actually wasn't going to do an individual video on the Malaysian Airlines, but when we found out that piece of information that they had sent a second plane into another war zone, I had to make video, because at that point you have 3 Malaysian Airlines incidences and that needs to be discussed. But either way, this was the video that I had originally planned for prior to the Malaysian Airlines video, and what you are looking at here is a world map, and all the areas that are shaded in orange or red are areas where there are conflicts going on. And as you can notice, there are conflicts going on in almost every part of the world. The world is at war. It's just that the West has not declared so. And if you look at the map here, they don't have anything for America and almost nothing for Europe. And so when I say the West, because the West isn't officially involved in a world war conflict, the West is not calling it that yet. However, just look around. I mean, it's pretty obvious. The world is at war. The world is at conflict. Whether or not you want to call it World War III, it really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that the world is at war right now. And the ones that are in red are armed conflicts that result in over 1,000 deaths per year. And the orange ones, it specifically says skirmishes. What does it say? Skirmishes and conflicts fewer than 1,000 deaths per year. And this is major wars and civil unrest in the red. So there is a precedence for this, in that if you look at World War I and World War II, the United States did not enter the wars until years into the conflicts. And if we do have a World War III where they actually call it that, I believe it'll be the same case. They'll end up saying that World War III started in 2012 or 2013 and went till whatever date, but we're in 2014 and aren't calling it that yet. And it's like I always say, the Nazis or people that lived in Germany didn't realize they were living in Nazi Germany until Nazi Germany was in full force, even though they've been living in it for years. And it's just like America. We're living in this weird communist, fascist, corporatist structure, and someday when history recounts America, they're going to call it something else that we're not even calling it yet, and they're going to say it started at a certain point that we don't even realize yet. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that we're not calling it World War III yet, but come on, look around. And I want to talk about some of these conflicts. So here we have China, and there's a lot going on in China, but another thing I want to point out is that the world, there are so many potential conflicts that can arise that at any time it could blow up the whole thing and just make the whole world really, things could get really serious. And over here you have Ukraine, and that's what the plane incident was. That was a false flag. That was a potential black swan event. They wanted to send the entire world into chaos by doing that. And I was saying privately to people that I know, not so much in my videos, but I was saying that I believe that it's going to come out that it was a false flag. They're not going to get what they want, and the whole thing's going to blow over, and in 5 days the next big giant story is going to come out and people are going to completely forget about it. And it's kind of starting to look like that's what's going to happen, because it's been almost practically proven now that this was not an organic situation where Vladimir Putin decided to just slaughter innocent people on a plane. That's what the mainstream media wants you to believe, but that's not what happened. Regardless of whether or not Russia actually shot the plane down or not, it's still somewhat up for debate. I was incorrect in my original assessment in that I thought Russia did shoot the plane down. I'm starting to think that it was Ukraine, that they really did orchestrate this whole thing, that they sent the plane into the airspace and then shot it down. But nothing's definitive yet. But either way, I believe it's been proven that it's a false flag. It was used to stir everything up and to make things worse. And so I bring that up because at any point in any of these conflicts, whether it's real or staged, you could have an event that could set the whole world on fire. So here you have, will the U.S. defend Philippines if China attacks? And that's news from a while back. But like I say, you have China over here, and the Philippines are You'll have to excuse me, but I know it's in these island chains here, and they've been threatening them with land that supposedly has oil on it that both countries are basically trying to claim. And so what would happen if China blew up a village with 1,000 people, and that's how we woke up one day? Are we going to have all these people on TV like John McCain saying, oh, we got to go nuke China? Another example is China. Again, China threatens Japan over islands, so it's the exact same kind of thing where China is threatening another island nation, another island chain, I guess you could say, where they're having disputes over the islands. And then you can come over here, you have Syria and Iraq right here, and then you have Afghanistan and Pakistan, and in the middle here you have Iran. And of course the West wants to go to war with Iran, and so just think, if they actually turn this into a red, you'll have this entire region of the world completely in red under major conflict where over 1,000 people die per year. And that's the next point I want to get into, is if you look at especially the red conflict zones, almost all of them were started by the West intentionally. And if you look at the history of World War I and World War II, they were both orchestrated conflicts. They were not just organic situations that just arose and it's just, oh, World War II, World War I just happened to start. They were orchestrated, they were planned well in advance, and if you say, well, why would they do that? Well, World War I was started to bring in the League of Nations, which failed, and then World War II was started to bring in the United Nations, which succeeded, and we have the UN today, and World War III will be started so that the UN could have total power over the entire world and will be the ultimate governing body, and there will be no countries. That is the goal. That is why they want to have World War III. And so if you go through the map, you have, I'm sorry, you have Iraq and Syria. I don't know why I can't figure out which one's which right now. But these are both started by the West. You have Afghanistan up here and Afghanistan here. That was started by the West. You have Libya right here. That was started by the West. You have Ukraine, which was started by the West. You have Mexico over here, our neighbor, and that's a whole other thing that I could get into. But that's started by the West because Fast and Furious is how all this came into being. Our transferring of weapons to Mexican cartels is what started the drug war over there, or I should say it's what really escalated it. And I mean, that's how insane all of this is. And like I said, America's not orange or red, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute, why it should be. But meanwhile, in America, the border has completely collapsed, and all these people are coming over right now, all these gang members, all these MS-13 gang members, and I might make a video about this. I haven't decided to yet, but if you've ever watched the TV show The Shield, they portray, it's a show about police in LA, and it's a gang unit, how they deal with gangs, and they have different races of gangs. They have the Armenian gangs, they have the Mexican gangs, they have the Salvadoran gangs, they have the black gangs, and the Salvadoran gang that's portrayed in the show is MS-13. They don't call them that, but that's what they are because they have the exact same tactics in the show. They chop people's heads off with machetes, and they do, I can't remember what it's called, but it's when they put the tires around your neck and set you on fire. That's what MS-13 does, and that's what's coming into our country right now, and they're going to become citizens. And you know, it's just crazy because people don't, it's like they don't even realize this is what's going on. And then to make things worse, you have this group called La Raza. They're coming in and they want to completely, basically exterminate all non-Spanish speaking people that are of brown skin. And I know that sounds crazy, but La Raza is a literal I shouldn't say Mexican. They are a brown Spanish-speaking supremacist group like the Ku Klux Klan. That's what's rushing into our borders. They're the ones that are partially responsible for all this. Obama has been meeting with one of their big leaders. I mean, it's unbelievable that this is what's going on. While all this is going on, that's what's going on here. And I just, you know, I'm around people that I know in my family, and I mean, they have no idea. I cannot believe that it's like the world is literally on fire. It reminds me of when you watch the old cartoons where they set the dynamite and the little rope is going down the road, you know, as it's going, like that's literally what's going on right now. The rope is going, and it's just at any potential thing could make that whole thing just blow up. Like I said here with Ukraine, that's what they try to do there. I don't think it's going to succeed, and because it's not going to succeed, I'm pretty scared of what the next thing they're going to attempt is. And over here, obviously, it's Mexico. So now I'm going to show you why America should be at a minimum in the orange. So this was Chicago, July 7th, 2014, 4th of July weekend. 82 shot, 14 fatally over holiday weekend in Chicago. And this is an every weekend occurrence. This is not isolated. In violent weekend, at least 40 people shot in Chicago. This was just this last weekend. We had 40 people shot. And so when you read about Iraq prior to ISIS, when you read about some of these other countries where they have conflicts going on, you would read very frequently 80 shot, 80 killed, 28 blown up, you know, just goes on and on and on. Well, this is how it is in Chicago. It's just constantly 82 shot, 20 killed, and that's like the war in Mexico. This is a gang war in a very small part of the town. I shouldn't say small part of the town, but it's isolated to one part of the town. The whole city of Chicago is not like this, where you're just getting shot left and right. It's one part of the town, but this is a literal war that's going on. You've had over 400 to 500 killed every year for years now, so the fatalities are in the thousands for just this one conflict. And not only that, you could even include this over here. Americans killed by cops now outnumber Americans killed in Iraq war. So you're talking thousands, not to mention the thousands killed in Chicago. And America is at war. We are at war with our government. And when I say that, I'm not at war with my government. The government is at war with me, and I am retaliating by doing videos like this and whatever else I decide to do, whether it's stuff I've done in the past or in the future. And you know, they're buying all these bullets. They're outfitting all these SWAT teams. Obama currently is putting together his National Civilian Security Force, which I believe is going to be the illegal immigrants, or at least that will make up a big part of it. And you know, when they threaten people who are engaging in American activity that they are the enemy, the country is at war. So make America an orange or a red. It really doesn't matter. America is at war. And so then you have Europe over here, and it's not like there's nothing going on in Europe. These are just some pictures of what goes on in Europe, the big austerity protests. And so at any time here, these could end up in big armed conflicts at any time. So, I mean, after America, after Europe, I mean, all you're really left with is Canada, Greenland up here, South America, which I think Brazil should probably be a yellow. And then you have the Southern Africa. But besides that, there's not much left of the world that's not in a major conflict of some sort. So World War III has begun, and even if they're not going to call it that, the world is at war. Don't kid yourself. This is what's going on. Wake up. Come on, people. Stop being in a trance. Stop focusing so much on the World Cup and football and baseball and award shows and the E-channel and Instagram and all these stupid things that people like to obsess over. I mean, come on. The world is on fire, and I'm not saying that there's much we can do about it at this point, but, at least, wherever you live, try to, through grassroots, try to, make things better wherever it is you live.